Supreme Commander Vorik stepped off the transport ramp, his black ceremonial armor gleaming under Earth's midday sun. The air was heavier than he expected, thick with the scent of steel, sweat, and something else, something primal. It put him on edge. A figure approached. General Marcus Hale, broad-shouldered and confident, extended a hand. "Commander Vorik, welcome to the Human Military Academy." Vorik hesitated. The humans had an odd custom of gripping hands, something about trust, dominance, or camaraderie. He cautiously extended his own three-fingered hand. Hale's grip was firm. Too firm. A warning disguised as a greeting. "You're taller than I expected," Hale noted, his tone casual but eyes sharp. Vorik ignored the comment. "I appreciate the invitation. The Galactic Council believes this tour will strengthen interspecies cooperation." Hale chuckled. "Oh, I'm sure they do. Come on, let's get started." The academy was massive, a city within itself. Soldiers marched in precise formations, but the discipline Vorik expected was lacking. They weren't rigid, like the troops of the Galactic Council. They moved with an unsettling fluidity, loose yet ready, as if they didn't follow rules, but instincts. They passed a towering obstacle course where cadets leapt, rolled, and climbed through hazards designed to test endurance. One slipped on a slick surface and crashed hard. Laughter erupted from the others. The fallen soldier groaned, shook it off, and joined in the laughter before continuing. Vorik frowned. "Failure amuses them?" Hale shrugged. "Pain's a good teacher. Might as well enjoy the lesson." Vorik said nothing, but he was already taking mental notes. Their next stop was a high-tech auditorium where a tactical lecture was underway. A colonel at the front gestured toward a holographic battlefield suspended in midair. "Remember, an enemy who thinks they understand your strategy is already dead," she said. "Predictability kills. Every war humanity has won. We won by fighting differently than expected. The second they believe we follow rules, we break them. The second they think we're untrained savages, we show precision. And when they believe we're warriors, we become ghosts." The room was filled with cadets, each one nodding, absorbing the words like gospel. Vorik had attended countless war lectures in his lifetime, but none like this. The Galactic Council taught structure. This was something else entirely. "What exactly are you teaching them?" Vorik asked, his voice edged with skepticism. "Survival," Hale said simply. "The difference between winning and lasting." Vorik's discomfort deepened. He had expected to see disciplined soldiers, not students being taught to think like predators. Hale led him to a darkened observation deck overlooking a massive simulation chamber. A battlefield hologram flickered to life. An urban war zone. 2 teams materialized. 1 human, 1 alien. Vorik recognized the alien species, the Charn, a warrior race that prided itself on honor and direct combat. The exercise began. The Charn advanced in formation, shields up, weapons primed. The humans sighed, scattered, disorganized, sloppy. Vorik smirked. This would be quick. Then the chaos began. A sudden explosion sent Charn soldiers diving for cover, but no humans had fired. It was a distraction. A second later, human soldiers emerged from unexpected angles, exploiting blind spots. One Charn was dragged into the shadows with a strangled cry. His own teammates didn't see it happen. Vorik's smirk faded. The Charn, still trying to regroup, issued standard battlefield commands. The human response? Laughter. Vorik stiffened. The human soldiers weren't just fighting, they were enjoying themselves. Jokes crackled over comms. One recruit, pinned behind cover, grinned as he shouted, "Hope you guys brought extra body bags," before tossing a grenade. Within minutes, the Charn were routed. Their commander, panicked, tried to order a retreat, but his voice was drowned out by human taunts. His forces fell into disarray, cut down one by one. The simulation ended. The Charn side had been obliterated. Vorik turned to Hale, disturbed. That wasn't battle. That was psychological warfare. Hale's expression was unreadable. That was human warfare. As they left the chamber, Vorok's mind raced. He had studied human tactics before, but seeing them in practice was different. They didn't fight for victory alone. They fought to break the enemy completely. They walked past another group of cadets in a sparring session. A young recruit, barely past adolescence, took down a much larger opponent with a brutal strike to the throat, followed by a calculated twist of the arm. The defeated opponent gasped for air but gave a thumbs up. The winner grinned, helped him up, and patted him on the back. Vorok exhaled slowly. Your cadets don't just learn to kill. They enjoy the process. Hale gave him a sideways glance. Would you rather train soldiers who hesitate? Vorok had no answer. As they continued through the academy, Vorok noticed something else. No fear. The cadets were confident. Dangerous. In every species he had encountered, even warriors carried some level of trepidation into battle. But humans, they weren't just unafraid. They were eager. As they reached the officers' quarters, Vorok stopped. Tell me something, General. Hale folded his arms. Shoot. What is your species' greatest weapon? Vorok expected an answer about technology, numbers, or strategy. Instead, Hale smirked. Our minds, he said. War isn't won with weapons. It's won up here. He tapped his temple. We don't fight fair. We fight to win. Vorok felt a chill creep through his veins. This was only the beginning of the tour. And already, he was beginning to fear what he might learn next. Vorok walked in silence, his mind sifting through what he had already witnessed. The academy was nothing like he had imagined. He had expected order, rigid formations, soldiers drilled into absolute obedience. Instead, he found something more unpredictable, more dangerous. General Hale led him through a wide corridor, the walls lined with screens displaying real-time battlefield analysis. Vorok's eyes caught a projection of a skirmish between human soldiers and an unknown alien force. The aliens moved in coordinated lines, advancing like a well-oiled machine. The humans did not. They shifted, adapted, reacted. One soldier feigned retreat, drawing enemies into a narrow alley where explosives detonated, reducing them to nothing. Another group staged a desperate last stand, until enemy forces overcommit, allowing hidden snipers to eliminate them from above. Vorok's jaw tightened. No honor. No structure. Just ruthless efficiency. A door slid open, revealing an expansive training yard. The ground was rough, uneven, designed to simulate battlefield conditions. Groups of cadets engaged in live combat drills, each scenario tailored to an unpredictable environment. Some faced simulated ambushes, others adapted to sudden terrain changes. There was no repetition, no pattern. Every exercise was different. Your soldiers don't seem to follow a doctrine, Vorok observed. Hale smirked. Doctrine's good for textbooks. War doesn't care about textbooks. A sudden commotion caught Vorok's attention. A drill was beginning. A squad of human recruits was pitted against a group of robotic adversaries designed to replicate an alien attack force. The machines were stronger, faster, and perfectly coordinated. Vorok assumed the humans would employ the same kind of strategy he had seen earlier: calculated misdirection, flanking maneuvers. They didn't. The moment the robots engaged, the human soldiers reacted with brutal aggression. One leapt onto a machine's back, tearing at its sensors with a combat knife. Another dodged an energy blast, rolling beneath a towering opponent before detonating an explosive at point-blank range. The squad moved like a living thing, no two soldiers fighting the same way. It was chaos. It was effective. One recruit, wounded but grinning, spat blood and muttered something to his squadmate. Vorok strained to hear. Damn thing almost got me. You owe me a drink. The other recruit laughed. Not my fault you fight like a lunatic. The exchange unsettled Vorok. This was battle to them, yet they joked. He had seen warriors filled with rage, with duty, with desperation, but never this. Never amusement. When the last machine collapsed in a sparking heap, the humans let out cheers, slapping each other on the back. The exercise was over. The casualties were minimal. The results, undeniable. Hale glanced at Vorik. See the difference? Vorik exhaled. They fight, like animals. Hale shook his head. No. They fight like humans. The words sent a chill through Vorik's spine. The tour continued through a section of the academy that Vorik assumed was another training facility. It wasn't. The moment they entered, the atmosphere changed. The lighting dimmed. The walls bore no insignias, no decoration. The space was filled with rows of terminals, each station occupied by an officer working in absolute focus. A single screen dominated the room, displaying a map with rapidly shifting markers. Vorik recognized the format: psychological analysis. "What is this place?" he asked. Hale's smirk faded. "This is where we win wars before they even start." A young woman in uniform approached. Her posture was relaxed, but her eyes carried the weight of someone who had seen too much. "General, we just ran the latest projection on the Zalari Dominion's frontline officers." She barely spared Vorik a glance. "They're showing signs of combat fatigue. 2 more skirmishes and their command structure will start fracturing." Vorik bristled. "You're analyzing officers in real time?" Hale gestured toward the screen. "Knowing an enemy's strategy is useful. Knowing their breaking point? Priceless." Vorik had seen battlefield intelligence operations before, but never this level of psychological warfare. The humans weren't just tracking enemy movements. They were watching minds unravel in real time. Another officer called out. "Projected troop morale for the Arvadi resistance is climbing. Their leadership responded well to our supply drops." Vorik frowned. "You manipulate both enemies and allies?" "Of course," Hale said. "Wars aren't just fought on battlefields. We make sure the right people break at the right time." Vorik's hands clenched. This was beyond warfare. This was control. As they left the chamber, Vorik's mind churned. The Galactic Council fought wars with tactics, with weapons, with numbers. But humans fought wars with minds. They didn't just kill enemies. They dismantled them, piece by piece. They approached another observation deck. Below, a different kind of training was taking place. A single cadet stood in the center of a barren field, surrounded by combat drones. Each machine bore a different emblem, representing various alien factions. The cadet had no weapons. A voice crackled over the intercom. "Survive." The drones activated, swarming toward him. Vorik almost called out, but before he could, the cadet moved. He ducked, twisted, feigned weakness, then struck with sudden brutality. He turned drones against each other, manipulated their programming, used their own momentum to throw them off balance. He was smaller, weaker, but he was unpredictable. One by one, the machines collapsed. The final drone hesitated. It had no consciousness, yet it reacted as if uncertain. Vorik watched in disbelief as the cadet took a slow step forward, eyes locked onto the machine. The drone adjusted its position, recalculating, but there was a delay. A moment of hesitation, as if even artificial intelligence struggled to predict human action. Then the cadet lunged, disabling the drone with a precise strike. Hale turned to Vorik. "Now do you understand?" Vorik inhaled sharply. "Understand what?" "That's why we win." Hale gestured to the fallen machines. "We make enemies hesitate." Vorik had no response. As they left the training grounds, a deep unease settled in his chest. The Galactic Council had underestimated humanity. They had thought of them as just another warlike species, another race learning the art of battle. They were wrong. Humanity wasn't learning war. They were perfecting it. Vorik followed General Hale through a series of underground corridors, the air growing colder as they descended. The academy above had already unsettled him, but something about this place felt different. He could sense it, The shift in atmosphere, the quiet hum of machinery, the weight of something unseen pressing against his thoughts. 2 armed guards flanked a reinforced door ahead. Neither acknowledged Vorik, their expressions unreadable behind dark visors. Hale simply nodded, and the door slid open with a low hiss. Inside, the chamber was dimly lit, lined with thick, insulated walls. Vorik's gaze immediately landed on the center of the room, on the subject strapped to the chair. It was an alien, tall and wiry, its skin a deep shade of violet. Restraints bound its limbs, preventing even the slightest movement. Vorik recognized the species, a Zalari intelligence officer. He had seen their kind before, skilled in deception, masters of interrogation resistance. This one, however, looked broken. Hale stepped forward. "You've arrived at an interesting time, Commander. We're about to run a final session." The Zalari lifted its head, its black eyes unfocused. When it spoke, its voice was raw, as if it had spent hours screaming. "I have nothing left to give." Hale crouched, his voice almost gentle. "Oh, I think you do." Vorik clenched his jaw. He had witnessed interrogations before. He had ordered them himself. But there was something about this scene that made his skin crawl. The human standing beside the restrained alien, a woman with short, silver-streaked hair, adjusted a device on the captive's temple. She glanced at Hale. "We've confirmed his neural resistance threshold. He won't last much longer. Then let's make it count." Hale turned to Vorik. "Ever seen a Zalari break?" Vorik forced himself to meet Hale's gaze. "They don't." Hale smiled. "That's what everyone thinks." The woman activated the device. The Zalari stiffened, its muscles locking as a low hum filled the air. At first, there was silence. Then a gasp. Then a choking sound, like something being torn from deep within. Vorik had seen pain before. He had inflicted it. But this wasn't pain. This was something deeper, something far worse. The Zalari wasn't being tortured in the traditional sense. It was being unmade. Hale leaned in, his voice calm. "Tell me about the Dominion's next fleet movement." The Zalari's breath came in ragged bursts. I don't know." The device pulsed. The alien convulsed. "Try again." "I don't." The Zalari's words faltered, its pupils dilating. "Varen system. 3 dreadnoughts. Departure in." It gasped, realization dawning too late. Hale nodded. "Good. That wasn't so hard, was it?" The Zalari shuddered. Its body sagged against the restraints. Vorik stepped forward, his voice low. "What did you do to it?" The silver-haired woman turned. "We didn't harm him. Not physically." Vorik frowned. "Then what?" Hale gestured toward the device. "Memory disruption. We don't extract information, we make them give it up willingly." Vorik narrowed his eyes. "How?" "Simple." Hale motioned for the technician to deactivate the device. The Zalari slumped, unconscious. "We don't just interrogate them. We change them." Vorik's stomach twisted. Hale continued. "Traditional torture makes people resist harder. Physical pain has limits. But the mind is a fragile thing." The silver-haired woman stepped forward. "We strip away their defenses. Piece by piece, we make them doubt what they know. We rewrite their memories, distort their sense of time. One moment, they believe they've been here for days. The next, they think they've been here for years. They forget what was real and what wasn't. And in the end, they tell us everything." Vorik swallowed hard. He had always believed in the strength of the Galactic Council's intelligence forces, in the unshakable will of seasoned operatives. But now, seeing what the humans were capable of, he wasn't so sure. Hale studied him. "You look uneasy, Commander." Vorik exhaled slowly. "This is excessive." Hale's expression darkened. "Is it?" He gestured to the unconscious Zalari. That thing wasn't going to hesitate before giving the order to burn human colonies to the ground. It would have sent millions to die without a second thought. But now, thanks to this, we just saved a fleet's worth of soldiers. Vorik remained silent. Hale turned toward the exit. Come on. We're not done yet. They left the chamber, Vorik acutely aware of the sound of the door locking behind them. He kept his composure, but his mind raced. The Galactic Council had believed humans were still adapting to interstellar war. They thought of them as a young species, still learning the rules of engagement. But Vorik now understood the truth. Humans weren't just learning. They were evolving. As they walked through the dimly lit corridor, Hale spoke again. You think we're monsters, don't you? Vorik hesitated. I think your methods are extreme. Hale nodded. Maybe. But tell me something, Commander. If your people were at risk of extinction, how far would you go to stop it? Vorik had no answer. Hale smirked. That's the difference between us and the Council. You believe in rules. We believe in winning. They reached another door, this one marked with no insignia, no warning signs. Hale pressed his palm against a scanner. The door slid open. Inside, the room was empty except for a single screen. The moment they stepped in, it flickered to life. Vorik's breath caught in his throat. It was footage. Not of a battle, not of an interrogation, of first contact. A Zalari diplomat stood before a human ambassador, their conversation civil, diplomatic. The words were meaningless. Vorik's attention was drawn to the background, where human intelligence officers mingled, their expressions neutral, their presence unassuming. But Vorik understood now. That first meeting had not been about diplomacy. It had been reconnaissance. The humans had been studying, calculating, measuring every reaction, every hesitation. Even before war had begun, they had been preparing for it. Hale watched Vorik carefully. You see it, don't you? Vorik forced himself to look away. The humans hadn't just been fighting wars. They had been shaping them. Hale's voice was quiet. Welcome to the real war, Commander. Vorik sat in silence, the weight of everything he had seen pressing down on him like a crushing force. The chamber was small, enclosed, offering no distractions from the storm raging in his mind. Across from him, General Hale leaned back in his chair, calm, unreadable. The room had no unnecessary decor, just a simple table, 2 chairs, and the lingering scent of recycled air. You haven't said much, Hale remarked, watching him carefully. I imagine you have thoughts. Vorik exhaled slowly. I came here believing humans were reckless, undisciplined. His fingers tightened against the table. Now I understand. You're worse. Hale smirked. Worse. You don't fight wars, Vorik said, voice low. You construct them. You manipulate every aspect, not just tactics, but minds, futures, realities. You don't just kill enemies. You make them destroy themselves before they even reach you. Hale shrugged. It works. Vorik shook his head. This is not war. This is something else. Hale leaned forward. What do you think war is, Commander? 2 fleets meeting in glorious combat? Armies clashing with honor? That's the fantasy the Council clings to. But that's not war. War is deception. War is breaking an enemy so completely that by the time they realize they've lost, it's already over. Vorik clenched his jaw. Hale continued, his voice almost conversational. Tell me something. What do you think happened to the last Zalari fleet that tried to attack us? Vorik met his gaze. They were destroyed. Hale chuckled. No. They never even made it to the battlefield. A screen flickered to life beside them. Vorik turned his head, watching as footage played. He recognized the Zalari ships, their sleek designs unmistakable. But something was wrong. The fleet wasn't engaging in battle. It was in disarray. Frantic transmissions filled the airwaves. The crews were fighting amongst themselves. Ships turned on one another, firing without cause. The entire fleet was tearing itself apart. Vorik's breath caught. What is this? Hale's smile didn't reach his eyes. Psychological warfare at its finest. We planted doubts, whispers of betrayal. We made them question their own leaders. We convinced them that their fleet had already been infiltrated. Paranoia did the rest. Vorik forced himself to watch as the ships continued their self-destruction. He had seen battlefield losses before, but this was different. This was an enemy undoing itself before a single human shot had been fired. Hale turned off the display. Tell me, Commander, what's more efficient? A battle where both sides take losses, or one where only one side walks away without firing a shot? Vorik's claws pressed against the metal table. Hale's voice softened. You call us monsters. But if we were the ones being wiped out, if it were your people at risk, would you hesitate to do the same? Vorik didn't answer. The silence stretched. Hale leaned back. You're going to return to the council after this. I imagine they'll want a report. Vorik's chest tightened. And what do you expect me to tell them? Hale's eyes gleamed. Whatever you want. But the truth. He let the words hang. The truth is that the council isn't ready for what's coming. Vorik already knew that. He had known it the moment he saw human soldiers laughing in the face of battle. The moment he witnessed the mind-breaking interrogations, the war that was waged before a single weapon was drawn. The Galactic Council had prepared for traditional warfare. They had trained for honorable combat, for structured conflicts fought on agreed-upon terms. But humanity had no interest in honor. They fought to win. And they always won. Vorik rose from his seat, forcing his voice to remain steady. I will deliver my report. Hale nodded. Good. A final escort led Vorik to his waiting transport. He boarded in silence, the door sealing shut behind him. As the ship ascended, leaving Earth's surface behind, he tried to collect his thoughts. He had come here expecting to evaluate humanity's military capabilities. He was leaving knowing that the war had already been decided,